Well, hello and welcome to the Alpha Anywhere demo and Q&A. It's been a few weeks since we've done one of these, and we are very happy to be back. Hope you're enjoying the music from the late Glenn Campbell, just a quick tribute there. But in happier news, we have a great session for you today with tricks concerning the list control in the UX, as well as any other question or topic that you would like to cover. So, by all means, go ahead, type your questions in now into the questions box of the GoToWebinar control panel, and we will ask them to Dion, who is our lead solutions engineer. I'm Dave McCormick, product manager here at Alpha Software. Dion McCormick, no relation, is our lead solutions engineer, and he is here to take your questions and to give you a demo here at the beginning. So let's get going. Let me take you off mute there, Dion. Hello, Dion. Are you there?
Yes, and welcome to be back. I'm very excited. Been chomping at the bit to get back online.
Now, you're broadcasting today not from your home, but from Edgartown, Martha's Vineyard here in Massachusetts.
Yes, I'm
close to headquarters, but much nicer than Burlington, Massachusetts, I'll say.
Indeed, I'm making my way towards you. It's like a slow-moving storm coming out that way.
Well, we look forward to seeing you here at headquarters.
I'm very excited about that too. Well, I wanted to say thank you very much for everybody who takes time to join us on these weekly webinars. Our goal is always, first and foremost, to help you get the most out of Alpha Anywhere. And with that in mind, what I'd like to suggest is you take a moment to go to your GoToWebinar control panel, go to the questions area, and enter any questions that you may have. Dave will be monitoring that through the first portion, and we're going to try to get to as many questions as we can in this presentation, and if we can't, we always do a follow-up and make sure they get covered. Remember, at all times, please send in your questions to guides, G-U-I-D-E-S, at alphasoftware.com, and we use those to kind of prepare this. In fact, this subject came across from a question that was emailed in about an individual who was creating kind of an e-commerce app using Alpha, and found that we could help them out with some really cool features that are built into Alpha to make that simpler. So I'll be doing a demonstration on that today. But first, what I want to do, first couple things, I want to make a few announcements. We're rapidly coming up on Alpha DevCon 2017, coming out in October. We're working heavily on putting together all the key pieces. This is actually going to be one of the more interesting DevCons. The amount of content and new capabilities and special announcements that are queued up for this one is off the charts. It's amazing how much we have targeted to deliver at this conference, and we'd love to have you join us. You'll find it's an extremely valuable event, and you'll come away with just gobs of new information and understanding where we're moving forward with our technology. Also, a couple other neat things is that we have a new release out, a new official release. That new release is called, there we go, it's 4.4.5. You can download it now from the release, and actually I'll go ahead and copy these and put them into the chat window here. So there we go. I'm trying to do that. Give me a moment here. Paste that there. That's where you get the downloads. There we go. There we go. That's the downloads. And then this is the release notes. I'm going to go ahead and put those in there also. There you go. So take your time. And again, this is a official release. We'll actually be doing a presentation in the very near future going through the details of all the different capabilities of this release. But there's actually a couple of extremely substantial capabilities built into it that I think you'll find very interesting, and we'll be doing more in detailed aspects. Also, just a quick update, we have some upcoming certification training, one on IAS, also the Alpha Cloud, and other ones generated. So if you're interested, you can always email us at guides@alphasoftware.com, and we'll get you back the information on those. Plus, along with that, we'll be posting more information on our website. But hey, this is all about you. Those are my announcements. I've kind of got those out of the way. I'm going to do a quick demo and explain a real cool feature of the list control. But in the meantime, if you do have questions, please put them into your questions area, and Dave will start monitoring and look at that. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, I came across this very interesting question where we had a situation where a client was looking to do more complicated sort of summary values. They had a list control or a implementation, an app that was going to be in an offline disconnected mode, and they were basically, it was think of it as a quote and estimation solution where you would go in and you would add items that were going to go onto a quote to a list, and then what they wanted to be able to do was summarize that data in the quote. So with that in mind, I did a little help with them, and we actually have built-in features. So what's really cool is we actually had client-side summaries is a capability is built into Alpha, meaning that the list control will do a lot of the math for you, thus reduce the amount of code that you might have. And what's really cool is these are very powerful summary capabilities. So a great example is, let's say you're putting together a shopping cart application, and your shopping cart is basically you insert things into a list of the different items you want. Well, you may want to find out the total of that shopping cart. And of course, you could write the little code that every time someone added something in the system, you could write a little piece of JavaScript that would go through and total up all the lines in there and put it together. But what's really cool is the list control actually has that capability built into it, so you do not have to write the code. And that's one of our key premises as a company, is that whenever we can, we want to reduce the amount of code that you have to generate, thus allowing the system to be faster to develop, easier to maintain, and easier to debug, and just less code to maintain. So we have these powerful summary capabilities built into the list control, and very important, they are available both online and offline. So if you're building an offline app, these summaries can be taking place on the local device, and you don't have to worry about like a back-end database or anything along those lines. It's very easy to set up, it's easy to access, and the reality is you're going to let Alpha Anywhere do the math, and so it's going to take care of making sure everything's updated for you as they go through there. So what our next step is to go through, I'm sorry, it's a little loud here, but the next step we're going to go through is, I'm going to show you that, but some of the use cases we've seen for people using this is, as I mentioned, a shopping cart application, also a bill of materials. Let's say you're doing an estimation for a job or something out in the field, estimates, and also client-side analysis. Let's say you're collecting data and you want to do a quick summary, totals, averaging, etc. of data that's being collected in the field, maybe a field inspection. Then you'll see that we can apply this to all these different use cases and make your life much easier. Now, the cool thing about the summary value is that it not only does the one that's most natural, is like a total, but you can also generate counts, averages, mins, and max, and this is all built into the list control you'll see in a few minutes here. And the neat thing is that once you've set this up, then the system will automatically make sure that all those values are updated, meaning that if someone adds a new line to the list control, like a new item is inserted in there, the system's going to automatically do all that math for you. So you don't have to worry about, ooh, I better do a refresh and write some code and do these other pieces like there. And it will automatically track those, even updates, inserts, etc. that are built into the system. And I'll come in and show you how exactly that works. So I've built a demo. So before I go into that, let me do a sound check, or make sure I'm coming through okay, Dave?
Yep, okay.
Cool, cool. So I've actually, we can send you this little control I built. It's a UX. It's all, doesn't need a database or anything. I used static data, so you can use this information here. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my control. It's a it looks, basically we have a list. And that list control is using, again, some static data. And this is just some mortgage information. Basically, it's a first name, last name, city, state, mortgage, and mortgage balance. So basically, it's some static data that I'm using for this control. But we can edit this information. What I can do is, let me go back here. We've got in here not only our list control, sorry, I have to shrink that out of the way, but we also have our detail view where we can update the data in there as we see fit. Then at the top we have a set of fields that will display our summaries. So let's go ahead and go into the working preview real quick. I'm going to go in here and you're going to see that here's my list control. We've just got a standard list control showing that data. You'll notice as I click here, it's showing the updated amount of the information for each of these rows over in my detail view here. And at the top I have a set of summary fields. And you'll see we've got two columns in our list, mortgage and mortgage balance. So you'll see that we have a row here that shows different information about the mortgage column and the balance company. So let's say I go into here and I've got a list control. In this case, what I'm doing is, it's like a banking application. We've got the person's mortgage value and the mortgage balance that's left over. So let's go ahead and change this. And I'm going to go ahead and change that to maybe it was 700,000. Now I want you to watch up here as I click save. Oops, sorry, it's a little loud there. I'm going to click save here, and you're going to notice two things. First, that the moment I did here, you'll notice that the mortgage average changed the moment I changed that. Let me do that again. I'm going to change that one more time. I'm going to click save, and you're going to see that this mortgage average immediately changed as I went into it there. And you'll also notice that since I'm on offline, you'll notice that the change is here in the list control, but it hasn't been put back into the database. So that's one of the cool, powerful things about this capability, is that this all can transpire when you're offline, meaning it can be just based on the data that's in this environment right here. So let me go ahead and change that again. 1, 2, 3. I'll save it. It's updated my mortgage total, my mortgage average, all that's done. I can go ahead and click synchronize, and my list is synchronized back to the database. So what's happening is every time I change a value in this list, I've set up this list so that the list is tracking the total, count, average, minimum, and maximum for this column, which is the mortgage, and also the same thing for the mortgage balance. And then the moment I change it, let's say I change the balance here to 800,000 and click save, it's immediately recalculated those, and those are available for me to show to the user. And again, then I can synchronize it back to the back-end database. The neat thing is that it takes very little work to make this happen, and I'm going to walk through it at this point in time of how this is structured. Again, offline automatically will calculate these pieces. Really fun and very easy to use. So what I want to do is we are going to send this out so you can grab a copy and play with it yourself. But I'm first going to go, all the work is done by my list. So you'll notice we have those fields at the top of the screen here. And then we have our list, and then we have our detail view. So I'm going to go into my list of summary. And the first thing I'm going to do is, as we said, static, I'm going to go to my fields. And so you'll notice these are my different fields that I have: first name, last name, city, state, and then mortgage and mortgage balance. When I go to mortgage and mortgage balance, I go over here, and there's a special little switch. So you'll notice it says compute summary values. And then I can click here, and you'll notice that. If I go to state, you'll notice the summary values is not enabled for that particular one there. So the cool thing about this is that all you have to do to tell the list control, okay, from now on, I want you to automatically start tracking the total, the et cetera, is to start computing those summary values here. And that's all you have to do. By clicking this little checkbox right here, behind the scenes, the list control will automatically start taking any data values that are in the list. And again, that could be, in this case, static, but it could have been like a list of items that was brought down from a database. It's going to automatically maintain those different min, max, average, total, and sum for you by just clicking that little button there. So that is behind the scenes. What it's doing is it is automatically tracking that. So there's sort of two elements to this. There's the element of setting up your list control so that behind the scenes, if I change something, and I'll go ahead and demonstrate that one more time. I'll go here to this and say our mortgage balance to say 700, 1, 2, 3, save it. So when I did that, since I enabled the totaling or the computations on these two columns, it's going to automatically take care of that for me. But you'll notice also when I do change these things, something else is happening in my interface. And if you watch up here when I click save, you'll see that I automatically update the information on that. And so again, the totaling and all that happens under the covers, all automatic. You never have to worry about it. We'll make sure that's done there. But now the question is, okay, so I changed that. How do I show the user that information? So it's pretty straightforward. First is I went ahead and just put fields on the user interface to show the person the different data. And in this case, I put all of them: total, count, average, min, max, etc. But you don't have to put them all. You could just do one there. I'm going to go back into my list of summaries, go to my fields, and I'll click on mortgage here. And if you'll notice down here, it tells you, if you click on the compute summary values, down below it's saying, it's showing, it gives you the tip right here to access the summary values that are computed. You can use the after client summary compute. So there's sort of like a client-side hook, like a trigger that occurs. Hold on one second here. Okay, so there's a trigger that after the list control has made its changes, it has a little function called after client-side summary that you can put your own JavaScript in there to do anything you want to do. So for instance, I'm going to go ahead and to see that, you just go down here to list events, click list events, and here is my code that's going on. So the idea is the list will automatically calculate these things, and then after those have been calculated, it will trigger any code that's in this little function right here. And when you have that function right there, then we can do a couple very simple things that are going on here. So this looks really busy, but reality is it's pretty simple code. So the simple code number one is that you have, let me see, let me go over here. First you have a command where what we're doing is we're getting from the list that value. So this is just a pre-built piece of JavaScript in there that says basically in my list summary for the mortgage column, give me back the total. That's all there is to it. And there's some documentation that shows on that there. Now you'll notice I did that multiple times. For instance, I said, give me the list summary, give me the mortgage column, now give me the current count. And so the system's automatically calculated that stuff, and all I'm doing is grabbing it out of the list, and then I'm just doing what's called a set value to set the value of my field on the screen with that information. So it's like get the information from the list after it's been calculated and put that information into that field there. And so every time the list recomputes these values, it's going to run this code here. So therefore now you don't have to worry about writing code to watch the list and see that. Anytime that list changes, it's going to immediately start it's going to immediately trigger this code, which allows you to do anything you want. And this could get very sophisticated. This is very simple. All I'm doing is getting the total and then setting a field on the screen to show what that total is. But you could easily trigger something where maybe you update another list control, or maybe you update some hidden fields, or you run a code and give a warning to the user that maybe they've gone over budget or something like that. So this gives you a huge amount of flexibility to say, hey, just start inserting and updating things in the list. Let the list go through and do all the updating and totaling for you, and then it allows you to then say, okay, after that's done, what is the new value and what do I need to do with that? Do I need to warn the user? Do I need to update something on the user interface? Very simple, very easy to do. And that's the extent of it. And again, we're going to supply you this UX so you can go in and copy and paste this code if you so desire. Pretty straightforward stuff there. So the list can now enable really cool stuff. For instance, instead of in this case just a set of mortgages, let's say this list was holding a shopping cart. So every time I added in a shopping cart item, I could then, it's going to automatically calculate the current total, and then once it calculates that current total, then at that point it will, you can then manipulate that, show that to the user, or do anything along the lines you'd like to do with that. So it's really fun and easy to use, and it takes very little code to implement. So again, the types you can get is there's total, count, average, min, and max. By the way, since you're given this information, you can then further use it to do other kind of calculations and do as you see there. The system's automatically going to calculate those, meaning that when I go into my list summary, go to my fields, go to the field I want counting, and just say compute summary values, from now on it's going to all be automatic. You don't have to worry about it. And then you're given the opportunity in the list events on the after client-side summary compute to add your own little code to display it to the user, maybe do some follow-on processing, double-checking, maybe against their mortgage balance, or maybe they've exceeded their budget or something along those lines. And that's really that's it. You just enable the compute summary values and then add your little JavaScript to do what you want to do with the values that have been calculated, and Alpha will take care of the rest for you. It's really, really fun. And you have the sample code, so that's pretty good from there. So great idea. In this case, the client was able to create a on-the-fly estimation system, so meaning that they could be fully disconnected. They had a list control where they would add sort of tasks that need to be done on a job. And that task, actually, the interesting part about it, that task had not only like price information, but information regarding the time it would take to do that task, the labor costs, the material costs that need to do that. And at that point, which is really neat, they were able to create and immediately show all the summaries that they need to see on that. So that's kind of a little bit of the background. So that is called, in this case, client-side summaries. Sorry, again, it's a little loud. Apologize about that. But that's client-side summaries. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dave to look if we have any questions and go from there.
Great, excellent. Thank you very much, Dan. So one question we have on client-side summaries has to do with the formatting. In your example, you showed an average mortgage calculation, and it came out to like, I don't know, 8 or 9 decimal points. How could you round it to just 2 so that it's just a little easier to see on the screen?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. What I would do is actually go to that area there, and you can set in that area right here, you can actually use the control itself to do the formatting. So you can use client-side formatting. So instead of having to do any fancy formatting in code, you can just say, hey, display the information using client-side formatting, and you can say a number, and in there you can set the number requirement. Say, for instance, I'm going to round the value, it's going to be a precision of 2, etc. And the cool thing about that is, again, no code. I just enable that. Now any item displayed in there will automatically be formatted for me.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's really handy. The idea is you want to minimize the amount of code you have to do, and then let Alpha do the rest, because it's going to be more rock solid, easier to use, and just easier to maintain. Next time you have to change that, you just go in here and click the format definition, modify, maybe I have a min or max, etc. And what's cool is with that formatting, this is really cool too, is that it allows you to like highlight these fields. Like, so if you go over a certain amount, let's say the mortgage is too expensive, it's too jumbo or something like that, you can also do a whole bunch of things such as make conditional styles, etc. And that's all automatically handled by the control itself. So you don't have to write a bunch of JavaScript to change the nature of the control. You can just allow Alpha in the client-side properties here. And again, the way I get that is I click on the field and then show the client-side properties. And in there you can get to the formatting, the conditional style, all these really nice things that are available from there.
Excellent. Here we have a question not related to the list control, and that is, it has to do with embedded components. And the question is there a simple way to synchronize multiple embedded components that's been wrapped into a master component?
Well, and by synchronizing, I would assume that you change a value in one component and you want to update it in other ones.
That's what it sounds like to me too. Yep.
Yeah, and the way I did, actually I did this for an associate just recently, so let me go ahead and bring this up here. Let me see if I have that example here. Oh, I'm going to have to change to a different project, so bear with me as I go here.
Sure.
So let me go oh, it's demonstration. Where's my demonstration? Okay. I'll go ahead and save my changes there so they're saved. Okay, so I'll go in here. So, okay. So I've got 2 components. The first level, and this is a classic kind of example in here. And the reason this came up was a question they had in terms of that exact situation. So I've got a top level component. And this is basically our classic offline component. So you have basically a panel card and then a second panel card. And in that second panel card, I've embedded a UX control. And that embedded control is only shown after they log in. The question is, well, that's great, but what if I want to talk to the parent control from the embedded object? Well, there's just a really easy trick to do that. And the trick is this. If you defined a JavaScript function at the top level, at one level up, so this is the parent control, and in the parent control right here, let me get this adjusted here. Okay, so in the parent control we've defined some JavaScript, and in that JavaScript is now available to all of the child controls, meaning that if you, in the child control, and in this case, you'll see I've got a little button here that basically all it does is call that function. So this function is actually living at the parent side, and when this function is called, since it doesn't exist at the child level, it bumps up to and looks at the parent and says, oh, is that code here? And we go here, and oh, sure enough, here's that function. I'm going to go ahead and execute that function. Now the cool thing about that is it can then call embedded UXs. So you can use that manner to essentially call like a parent function that says, okay, now refresh all the embedded with the different items that are available from there. It's getting a little loud out there. So the other method, there's actually a second method that can also be used from here, is that really the primary is being able to use JavaScript commands at the top level to communicate with one or more multiple embedded objects. Another option that's available, which is pretty straightforward, is that you can actually set what are called local variables and local storage. And we've actually done a couple presentations on that recently. And the situation on that is that that's the way you can communicate data from one UX to the other, because if you put it in local storage, not only can the parent, but any and all of the other embedded objects can access that data. So it allows you to kind of use it as sort of a session variable kind of concept on the client side. And that will work really well on the client side because it allows you to pass the information from one UX to another.
Got it. Now,
So I'm not sure if that's helpful, and I apologize again. It's just a very loud, noisy environment I am at. I tried to get somewhere a little quieter, but I'm going to go to a different location while you go ahead and take the next question.
All right. Well, this is Martha's Vineyard, after all, which is where Jaws was shot. So who knows what kind of excitement might be happening in the background there. So in a second while I go through the questions. We have a question here, which is, I think we'll probably actually have to just see an example of this diagnosis, but I think I'll just ask it anywhere. And it says that my onRender complete, in the onRender complete event, I call the PhoneGap file download that runs, but I get a delayed till PhoneGap ready undefined script error. So in other words, this is basically a PhoneGap type of application. He's running into a JavaScript error when he tries to run it. So the question is, how do you go about diagnosing a problem like that and fixing it? Well, one way, if it's a simple one that you can reproduce, you can always send a test case into us. But Dion may have some other suggestions for doing that type of debugging. And when he comes back on the line, I think he'll be able to help us out there.
Yeah, there's a really great way to do that. And I'm sorry I don't have my machine set up, but what's cool is you can actually use the Chrome debugger. So what you can do is Chrome has built into it developer tools. So what you can do is you can set up your developer tools, and that allows you to basically debug apps that are running in the web browser. But they have a very powerful capability, which is called, where is it? Where's the animations? It's not sure. Oh, remote devices. Here you go. So what you can do is you can actually plug your device, in this case Android, directly into the USB from the, so you can take a USB cable from your Android device right into your computer. And then what it allows you to do is you can start Chrome, and then you say remote devices, and then this allows you to actually look at your app running on the Android device. And what's really cool about that is that it allows you to actually interact with it, which is really neat. You can actually sit there and see the screen, click on buttons, and then watch the console and the other aspects that will show you whether or not where the errors are occurring. And the really nice thing about that is that it's real time. Now, there's two little caveats to that. One is that, it's really more Android than iOS. Secondly is that you have to actually enable debugging on the Android device. There's a setting that you go into in their settings, and they're all included in there. And actually there's, if you go to remote devices, there's actually some documentation right here that tells you how to turn on that mode. But once you've set up that mode and turn that mode on, then literally you will watch your remote device, your Android device, right inside the Chrome debugger here, and be able to use all the features of the Chrome debugger to edit, or to see what's going on there, including the console. So if you're seeing JavaScript errors, you'll be able to, sometimes it just doesn't show like anything's happening on the mobile device. Then what you're able to do is see the JavaScript error, and it gives you that hint of what is causing the problem, and then you can debug it. And in fact, you can put in console.log commands in your JavaScript code inside your alpha, and it will spit out into the console right here as it runs. You can see in this case it's showing me a whole bunch of just messages, system messages here. But in this case, you could spit out your own messages to say what is the value of a record, or what is the state of a button, or something like that. So you can use a very traditional kind of debugging process to spit out the internal variables of what's going on. And where that really becomes important, especially in the JavaScript areas, that I find that where a lot of those errors are, is you'll see something called like object undefined. And so for some reason, your JavaScript code is trying to do something with a JavaScript object, like some data or something else, but it can't find that data. And that's usually your key indicator that allows you to find where the problem is. So again, it's built in to go to into Chrome. You go to the triple ellipsis right here and go to More Tools. Actually, no, first let me get out of here. Let me go ahead and open this. So you go into Chrome, and again, for Android devices, go out there. First thing you do is go to More Tools, Developer Tools. Then once you're inside Developer Tools, you'll go back to your menu here, and you'll go to More Tools, Remote Devices. And again, you'll need to set up your remote device and then plug it in via USB. But once you've done that, what will happen is Chrome will say, oh, I see this remote device. You want me to start showing the debugging information here. You click on it. What's great is you'll see a screen representation of the device right here. And over here, you'll see all like any JavaScript errors that are going on. You could write your own console.log messages in there. And what we can do is actually show a live demo. I thought I had done that before a while back. I know we have it somewhere, but we could do another one real quick to kind of show people how easy it is to set that up and what it looks like, and most importantly that console.log, because that's really handy to say, oh, I'm getting like an object undefined, then let me go find the code that defines that object and spit out information about that. So that's the way you're going to handle it, because sometimes these mobile apps are tend to be a little opaque from the standpoint of sometimes they're just not working. And when they're not working, you just go, well, why not? But meanwhile, in the background, JavaScript is throwing errors that you'll be able to see here that you might not necessarily see when running on the device itself.
Right. And as you mentioned, you do need to set up the Android device before this works. So just plugging in a USB cable, it's not going to appear here. There are actually two things you need to do. One is you need to grab a driver for the device. So if you have like an Asus tablet, you'd grab a driver that works with Asus. The other thing is actually in the Android operating system itself, there's a way to tell it that you would like to use it in debug mode. There's some crazy thing like tapping on the serial number 3 times, something like that. Definitely
yeah, it's kind of like the actually we went and saw the play Wicked. It's like click your heels 3 times and say there's no place like home. There's no place like home.
Or something.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, you know what? Beetlejuice is a much more applicable situation in this scenario. So, but there's a ton of two things. One is there's a ton of documentation built into Chrome, and you can also filter Google. I'm just there. You can also go to Google and go to Google, like YouTube. And on YouTube, there's a lot of videos that actually show you literally how to set it up step by step. They walk you through the steps. So there's a lot of good documentation. Then once you're up and running, you actually literally see it. And what's kind of cool is that when the screen is shown here of the mobile device, you can actually click on the buttons here, and it'll send it to the mobile device. So you don't even need to touch the mobile device. You can be clicking on buttons and doing stuff.
It's really handy.
It's really spooky. Yeah.
And I've noticed, we've had clients who are only interested in developing for iOS, but nevertheless, during the development process, it was so much handier to go get an inexpensive, under $100 Android tablet,
Yeah.
hook it up with a USB cable, and really put it through its paces. And you get most of the issues, almost all the debugging issues, you can work out that way, which I think is superb.
And I haven't explored this, but there actually, the Safari has a very similar functionality that's available. So if you have a Mac with Safari, you can plug an iOS device into it and kind of use Safari, very much like Chrome, to debug that iOS device. It's just, this one's just all built in. Chrome works really well, very simple. And you're right, you can go get a $50 tablet and be able to run your code there and make sure it all kind of works. Because once you get it working on one platform, it's going to work on the other. You may see some visual differences and a few little things that are a little different, but it's all going to be based, since it's PhoneGap, it's going to work pretty much so the same on both platforms.
Right. We are really light on questions today.
I guess people must still be on vacation.
I know exactly. We may be ending this session earlier. You may be able to go back to the beach earlier, which would be cool.
Actually, I got to run in a ferry. No, so much fun.
So we did have a question, which is this component available for download? It will be. We'll probably put the link when we post the video. But if you want it sooner than that, just send off an email to guides, G-U-I-D-E-S, @alphasoftware.com, and we'll send the link over.
Yeah, and since it's static data, you don't have to worry about setting up a database or anything. You load it, it'll run, and then you can, you can just start clicking around, have fun, and play with it. And we try to do that, we're trying to do that more and more, just so that you can get that immediate, get it up, start playing with it without having to go through a lot of stuff.
Excellent. So we'll give you all one more minute to ask some questions. And if not,
remember, make sure we're waiting on that.
Yeah, I know.
Get to DevCon. You'll learn about this and a bunch of really amazing things. Coming up real soon, we're going to do a complete review of the 4.4.5 release and tell you all the neat stuff that's in there. I think you're really going to enjoy it. There's some very powerful new features that you can immediately start using on your projects to make them easier to build and simpler to go. And we got a lot of other cool training stuff. Thanks a lot. I've missed everybody. Really enjoy these sessions. Sorry it was a little loud today. We have some
Wait a minute.
Good. I was kind of giving people time to get their questions in. So.
Oh my goodness. Now we've got 10. All right.
Oh, okay. Well, that's okay. That's why we're here.
This is what we want. We have to threaten a little bit is what it seemed like. All right.
Yeah.
That's fine. Work that way. One person, though, who we kept saying we'd get back to and we haven't, is a person who's asking us about the semicircle component and dynamically setting the data range. I know he's been asking this for a little while.
Oh, he can't.
I
don't know off the top of my head.
I'm taking Dion off the case. So please, can you send that email back into guides, G-U-I-D-E-S, @alphasoftware.com, and I will put on a more responsible person. We'll actually get you the next session.
Absolutely.
Very sorry to keep you waiting on that. So, all right. Other questions? How do you present the information so it doesn't look like it's in a field, as if it's just typed on the screen?
Basically, I'm currently using what are called text boxes for the display. Oops, I got to go back to my other project right here. Let me go back here. Open that back up. No, I won't make any changes here. So I just kind of, for giggles, I just put this on here as a text box, but you can easily display that as a label, which is a uneditable amount. So now when I click OK, go into my working preview, you'll notice it changed it from a box to a T. Now I'm going to go into working preview, and you'll notice that it's just written on the screen there. Now it still has a bounding box here, but I can actually, and so this is the default representation of a label, but you notice there's no bounding box. I can't click in it, can't do anything like that. But now if I go back into here and go to the class, you can actually set up your own class, but I'm just going to get rid of the class. So it's going to treat it literally as plain HTML text. So when I go back into working preview here, you will notice that now it's just right there on the field, no bounding box, no. But then again, you could apply obviously CSS to make the text look really nice and do the other things that you need to do from that standpoint there. So that's all you need to do is basically go in, change it from a text box to a text label, which is a built-in control. It's got the little T there. Once it's a built-in label, then you can apply any CSS HTML styling you would like to get it to look the way you want it to look.
And speaking of CSS styling, someone wrote in and said, about the demo today, can you show how you would sort of clean it up to make the columns line up and things like that?
Oh, okay. On this, and I'm guessing on for these columns right here, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yep. So first is what I would do is I would probably just set it up. A couple different ways I can handle that. One is, which is kind of a cool feature, is that I can actually go in here and create what's called a, where's my container? It's called a freeform layout. Okay, so I've got this thing called a freeform container. Now I'm going to go here to mortgage total. I'm going to take mortgage account, also turn that into a label, and get rid of the class so that it's the same stuff there. So I've got there. But I'm going to do something cool. So I've added this thing called a freeform container. It's kind of an invisible thing. And I've got these fields here. So I'm going to take mortgage total, and I'm going to hide that, and I'm going to take mortgage count, and I'm going to hide them. Now when I go into my freeform container, I can put in like here, I can go into my HTML editor. I can get in there. Come on, let's go. Okay, I can insert a table. Let's say it's 2 rows by 2 rows with 0 borders. 0 borders. And then I'm going to go in here. I'm going to click Save. Now I'm going to go in here and put here the mortgage total here and the mortgage count here. So I'm kind of using a traditional HTML layout there. And so now what I can do is now I can go in and just use standard HTML to put together, like you'll notice this is column 1, column 2 kind of scenario. I'm sorry, this doesn't lay out really pretty right here. The idea though is I want to get across is now you can use a traditional layout structure like a table so that everything will align perfectly above, in this situation from there. Now another method too is available, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that and go back in here. We also have a new feature in here where I can take I now have a new thing called it's a special type of container. So I'm going to go to containers. I'm going to add a container, and I have this new one called where's the alignment container? Yeah. So I can have what's called an alignment container. So now I can take these items right here, and I can put them in here, and I can now set the alignment so I want that to be like left, right, center. And what will happen is now I can align controls cleanly under a container, which is essentially just, basically behind the scenes we're putting in a div so that it's using CSS to do it. And therefore you can use alignment containers to get things to line up exactly how you want them. So you maybe have 2 side-by-side alignment containers, and in each of those is a set of fields. Now so both methods are valid. What's kind of nice about the HTML one that I showed you is you can bring in any kind of CSS in there and use CSS to actually line up your things. So you can actually use CSS techniques that are available. So either one's available, but check out the alignment container. It was just added like about 2 releases ago, and it really makes things really nice because it aligns it on the screen in like nice vertical columns.
Fantastic. Let's see what else we have here. Oh, here's kind of a neat one. This has to do with grids. And how do you copy a grid row with a button click?
And what would you be copying it from?
I think what I suspect is what they mean is you are on a data record and you say, oh, I want to make an exact copy of this and then maybe change one thing.
Okay, cool. Let me go ahead and open up one of my grids here. And the way I would do that is I would use a Ajax callback. Okay, so let me open up a grid I've got right here. Here's a nice grid. Okay, so let me show you a working preview. Okay, so here's just my grid. Okay, so what I can do is this. I can go to my grid. I can insert a button. So let's go ahead and insert a button, and I'll call that button duplicate. Okay, now I can go to the click event on that button, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do what's called an Ajax callback. And I'm going to say duplicate duplicate record. Okay. So now I click OK. And so what happens now is that when the person runs this, the button's in the wrong place, but you click on this, it's going to make that callback. But I haven't created anything on that yet. So let's go ahead and create the back-end callback function. So I'm going back in here. I'm creating the prototype. This is a sample code that is given you, and I'm putting it in here. And I'll go ahead and paste that right in here. Paste, paste, paste. Okay. Okay, so now what happens is when the user clicks on this button, it's going to call this function right here, and in that function, so for instance, and I'll just go ahead and copy the default data, I'm going to go ahead and grab this out. This is automatically generated for me. So it's going to call back to the server, and it's going to run this code right here. So let me go ahead and sit there. Now, watch what happens. I'm going to go ahead and set this up. So I'm going to go in here. I'm going to go back into working preview. Okay. I'm going to click duplicate, and you'll notice that, oh, it's in there. Oh, I got the wrong name. Let's see, we want, it's called, the field is actually customer ID. So what's cool is that when this is called, it actually gives you the current row data. So you're going to tell exactly what the current row information is. So let me give that one more time and try this. So what's going to happen is it's going to show me the grid. I'm going to click duplicate. It's going to call that back in, and it didn't like that. What's that? Maybe it's, oh, you know what? Since it's not an editable grid, is that called customer field name, customer ID? That's right. Let's look at this, X basic functions, decode row. Well, I'll just grab this. This is actually gives me, I'll copy that, go right here, paste that. Sorry, this will take a few more moments when we get it there. Paste that. Okay, let's give it a try here. Now, and this kind of is just the basics of what happens. Let's see there. Okay, so notice that when I click a row, it calls that, and I'm able to grab the unique ID for that. And that's what this little piece of code does right here. It says, give me the current row key, the ID, the unique identifier. So what I would do is the first thing I'd say is, you know, customer ID is equal to, and I'll grab this here, copy that, paste it here. Okay. Now I would, in here, I would write the code to duplicate the record in XBasic. So you would actually run the code that would say, okay, just say, you know, and then make any modifications. Now, the important thing you want to do is once you've done that, then what you need to do is send back to the front end a message to say refresh equals there. So it's dialog.object, or no, it's grid.object. And I'm going to paste this into there. Okay, so I grab the customer ID coming in. So it's called this function, got the customer ID. I can write my code to do the duplication of that value. And that's just some XBasic Java, XBasic code to run like a copy row using that key there. But then what I'm doing is I'm sending back a piece of JavaScript that tells the grid to refresh itself. Because what happens is when you make the XBasic callback, it's going to duplicate the record in the grid, but then the grid's just going to be looking the same. So if you'll notice in here, I'm going to go ahead and show you, I'll go ahead and click a row here. Okay, so notice this is all set up here. When I click and click duplicate, you'll see in a moment that notice how this refreshed and reselected the first row because I commanded it to do what's called a grid object refresh. So the beauty of that is that after you've duplicated your row, then the grid's going to do a refresh, grab the rows, and therefore your new row will show up in your grid. And I'm going to go ahead and copy this here, and I'll go ahead and put it into our GoToWebinar chat window here. Paste. And I'll go okay. Oh, Dave, are you still hearing me okay?
You're coming through loud and clear.
Okay.
And at the same time, I just happened to send something out through the chat window as well.
Okay, cool.
Which I'll discuss in 1 second once you Right,
Gotcha. So that's it. Is basically first step is to add a button. That button does an Ajax callback, and that callback runs a XBasic function that grabs the key of the current road, duplicates it in the database, and then sends a message back to the grid to say, hey, I've got some new records, go ahead and refresh that. And that same principle applies for anything. You can always refresh the grid anytime you do something. Like if you delete will automatically occur, but if you're doing some other functions, you can automatically do that. So that's how I would approach that challenge of creating a duplicate row button on your grid. Dave?
Awesome. So regarding the semicircular grid, it looks like there is an article available now in our documentation system about setting the minimum and maximum. So if this is not what you were looking for, do let us know, but otherwise I've pasted it into the chat window. Just want to let you know that. Let's see what else we've got here. Someone asked about a new version, and it is true that we do have new version 4.4.5 that has come out, and we have not gone over the features for that. You can find them in the documentation system, and we will cover them in future webinars. But in the last couple of minutes, Sarah, I think you're still here. Perhaps Sarah could take us on a little mini tour of the documentation for the new version 4.4.5 so you could see what the top features are. So Sarah, are you there? I'm going to go ahead and unmute you.
I am here.
Excellent. Do you mind if I make you the presenter and you could show off the 4.4.5 stuff?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right.
Locate. There was a blog post about this. I'm going to pull that up real quick.
Okay. So I made you the presenter. There should be a dialog box or something for you to click on to share your screen. And there it is.
Right. So 4.4.5, we saw a large number of new controls added to the UX component. Some of them are editors, so we have some new keypads for providing an alternative data entry on mobile apps. We have some.
So what you're showing there, the multi-select token control, is one I think is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like what you have like in an email program, where each of these become little tags and you can delete them. So we're thinking it would be helpful for doing filters, like show me only images that have a blue background and have a cat in it or something like that. Yeah.
Or if you're, maybe you're entering in multiple products or something for,
right,
instead of doing a checkbox selector, you could use this instead. Yeah, so that's in the, I can actually show one of those live. So yeah, that we have this section in data controls called more controls. So in the UX under controls, data controls, and way down at the bottom, more controls. This is where we've added that multi-select tokens. There's also an expanding menu control in here for displaying a menu that expands as opposed to popping out. That new multi-select token control is pretty cool. You can add one, you can populate them with data from SQL or static data. We have some example data that you can put in here to see what that static data format is like. And then, mind you, I'm running a pre-release again. But in here you can pick from this drop-down.
So there's one, two.
You can delete it, you can type it in, and it shows you this selection list.
Great.
Adds it in like that. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. That one, I think a lot of people are going to like that.
Yeah.
We have this new menu control. It's another way of adding a menu. It uses SAS variables and functions to dynamically generate the background color, so you're not hard coding or it's trying to do the math to figure out how to decide how many levels deep you need to lighten something if you want that kind of effect in your application.
Neat. These are like a lot too, the new
keypad
keypads
editors
for mobile. Yeah.
Yep, this is the alphanumeric keypad and our number keypad. The alphanumeric keypad actually has two views. One is this view that you see here with like the full QWERTY keyboard layout, but the other one is a smaller one it's identical to this one here with just the numbers, but it uses the A, B, C, D, E, F sort of layout that you see on a telephone keypad for the letters, and when you tap on it, it gives you a choice of which letter to actually put in the box.
So it's kind of like how you used to send texts in the old days before the smartphone, where you'd use the buttons for the numbers. And it makes it easier to not accidentally fat finger a button, so you actually do type in what you mean to type in without using a stylus, which I think is kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah, but they're customizable. You can style them to fit within your branding and your application. You can add custom buttons if you need some extra characters on them. And the really nice thing about them is that it restricts users from having access to the built-in keyboard that might have some components on it that you don't want them putting in there, like emojis. So this helps sort of eliminate some of that.
Yep.
We have some new also some date and date time editors for editing date and date time values and time values. These are spinless controls, so those are they're all pre-configured with all the logic to get the date, parse the date, and then set the date for you. So
now we were wondering when we were looking at that example whether or not that in fact is the Back to the Future example, you know, where they set the DeLorean car back to November 25th, 1954. Or I'm not sure if that's the right date, but it kind of looks like it might be. So.
Oh yeah, I'm not sure what the history is behind this date, other than it was in the release notes. So it was a decent screenshot.
I think someone's having fun. Yeah.
I kept that one.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, we have some new mobile templates. But another big thing in this release is better, more reliable offline support with a larger capacity for storing more data offline, faster load times, new features that allow you to do things like automate data synchronization on the back end, so your users aren't required to press a button anymore. If that's what you would like to have. So a lot of work went into that. You don't see the benefit of what we did there because it's not a feature that you can click on and play with. So some back-end infrastructure support. And then we do have some mobile templates, some new templates. One of them, which is shown here, is our data-driven form template. And this is a template that is data-driven, meaning that you can take a definition defined either statically with some JSON or dynamically using JSON, or defined in a database to generate the editing controls you need for all of your data values. So previously, when you built your app, you had to add those controls in and know in advance the type of data that you had in your field, so you could line that up with what you wanted the user to use to edit those values. Now it could be driven by your database and just store a little bit of extra information, and now you have dynamic forms for editing data in your system if it needs to be a little more flexible. Instead of having to build out a bunch of UX components, you could conceivably build only a few.
Very cool. Now, someone asked about the numeric keyboard. Is it possible to do a numeric keyboard with the one in the upper left, as opposed to how it is now?
Another good question. I'm gonna
like a telephone rather than a calculator.
I don't think so. Right.
I mean, it's possible in that you can build out a custom control. It's just I don't think it's one that
you can. I mean, the keypad itself is just a view box. The keypad editor, it inserts the view box, the save the cancel buttons, and then all the underlying logic for getting and setting the value. But on that layout, you can come in here and just I think what you can do is you just grab this div here that has the 1, 2, 3 and just move it to the top.
Yep. So the answer is
yes. Swap it, I guess. Yeah. Yes, you can do that.
Great. Apparently someone did check. It's November 5th, 1955, so it was...
Oh.
I'm glad that before they're researching. That's what the web is for. Great. So it looks like we are coming to the end of our hour. So if you have any other questions in the meantime, send them over to guides, Guides, at alphasoftware.com. I want to thank all of you for attending. Thank you very much, Dion and Sarah, for presenting. and we will see you back here next week, where we will, I believe, go over the 4.4.5 features in more detail, as well as take any questions that you may have. So thanks again, and hope to see you next week. Take care and goodbye.